My name is Dustin Aguilar. I've been a part of C3 since the beginning for about 7 years, I guess that would be. I feel like almost all of my spiritually defining moments have been at C3. I wasn't really a mature Christian in any sense of the word before the season of a couple of months, right around the time that I became a part of C3, right around the time I met my wife. My Christian life really started then, and I had already been a Christian for 10 years, but I think that real regeneration really started then. And so I would say at that point I started really living for God, or I was on fire for God, or I was excited about Him. And at the same time I started, my wife and I became part of C3. So it really feels like if I were to plot spiritually defining moments after the first 10 years of sort of slow growth and maybe not a lot of maturity, the last 7 years at C3 have been constantly rising. When I lost my job, I can say in complete honesty that it was never when I lost my job, I can say that we didn't genuinely consider cutting back on what we were giving. Maybe I may have been tempted to do that. I think you could justify doing that, maybe. You could certainly put up a good argument in the right crowd for cutting back on your giving when you lose a job. But Tina would absolutely, there's no way that would have flown with Tina, so it wasn't ever a real consideration. I'm really blessed that I just know her outlook on giving is you would be a fool not to give. The best investment you can make is giving, and so we continued our giving even when we lost the job, and I mean, how did God provide? I mean, He provided another job. He provided I think a faithful community around me that would encourage me, yes, continue to have faith that God will provide when the time it comes. And I always had this losing my job was the big fear, because I just felt like in Japan, God started working on me in so many ways. He started pruning me of things that needed to be taken care of, gotten out of there. And it was difficult. There were difficult things, but I could tell at the end of our time in Japan, I could tell that this one thing had still not been touched. And I don't know, surely there are more things, but I knew for sure this money thing, the way that I think about money, the way that I conceive of my income, my security, God has not touched that yet the same way He touched these other things, these deep things. And I thought to myself, I can think of one good way that He could really get that into the forefront of the pruning, and that would be to lose my job. And then I came back here, and 3 months later, I found out I was going to lose my job. And even when I found out in April I was going to lose it, and I knew in August it was going to be gone. So I had all that time to search, and I had all that time to either worry and start cutting back on giving or whatever, or we had all that time to be faithful that He was going to come through. And so I can say that we were faithful. We were faithful. And then I got a job that for lack of a better way to put it, I just couldn't do. I worked it for a month and a half, and my stress level was so high, I thought I was having some kind of heart problem. So I quit the job. And at that point, that's when I thought, wow, now I really don't have a fallback plan. Like, this job that I went and saw that I could not do. That was my fallback plan. Now, now we're really having to trust that God's going to provide. And as the clock kept ticking, we just kept having the peace, knowing that we were going to be okay. And here we are. The job that I have pays less than the job that I lost, and we have to look at our finances differently. We have to look at our budgeting differently. It's I don't know. It's really tangible in front of our eyes. Like, our giving comes from somewhere. I mean, we're sacrificing something. I don't think we really were sacrificing before. I think we just have to think of it differently. I would rather have something impossible to do. Like, give everything sounds impossible. I would rather be failing at what God said to do and then coming to Him and saying and asking for grace and, letting God work into me the desire, the ability to give, than to. I would rather be doing that than to make up something that I could succeed in that God didn't say to do. I'm Dustin, and I'm growing roots.